What painful truths did the famous comedian Don Knotts leave behind? Life was full of laughs and famous parts, but it was also sad, with relationships that were hard to handle and a death that shocked even his biggest fans. The story of Don Knotts is much more complicated than most people think. It starts with an empty house and ends with the money he left behind. Let's learn more about his family, his legacy, and the hard times that made his work so memorable. In the 1960s, when entertainment was young and changing quickly, Don Knotts was one of the most loved TV stars. In The Andy Griffith Show, Knotts won an Emmy for his part as the clumsy but likable Deputy Barney Fife. He became a household name in America and a comedy icon of his time. In a charming colonial revival home in Glendale, California, he got away from the attention of everyone while his fame was rising. A quiet neighborhood known for its streets lined with trees, wide range of architecture, and closeness to the center of Hollywood. The house was built in 1934 and was in the colonial revival style, which was very popular in Southern California in the early 1900s. It had the classic grace and symmetry of that style. The home was 213 square feet, which was a good size for a family because it was both grand and comfortable. It had 3 large bedrooms and 25 bathrooms, so it was good for both living alone and having people over for a party. Even though the house only had a few bedrooms compared to the homes of modern celebrities, it had thoughtful architectural details that spoke to an age of fine craftsmanship and understated luxury. The wood-beam ceiling in the living room was one of the things that made the room stand out. It gave the otherwise formal style a warm, rustic charm. The coffered ceilings in the dining room made the room feel more elegant and classic, making it a great place to have people over or have a quiet meal with close friends. A decorated fireplace was the natural focal point of the main living area. It echoed the ease and comfort that made Knotts such a likable character on screen. The den was a cozy place to relax in the house, and it had direct access to the backyard, which would have made living indoors and outdoors easy and enjoyable. It's easy to picture people going outside into the California sun and spending time with family and friends in the beautifully landscaped yard, or having a quiet afternoon by the pool. There was a sparkling pool in the garden that made it a personal oasis and a nice place to get away from the stress of his famous job. As much of the home's original charm as possible was kept. The kitchen was carefully updated to meet modern standards without taking away from the home's historical charm. Top of the line Viking and Sub-Zero appliances were installed along with custom-made cabinets. Caesar stone countertops, which are known for being long, lasting and stylish, and granite counters. With these changes, the kitchen became a gourmet work area, perfect for making meals or just enjoying the daily ritual of cooking in style and comfort. Over the years, the house has kept its appeal as both a classic piece of design and a great place to live in the greater Los Angeles area. It was bought for $600,000 in 2003, showing that there is a steady market in Glendale for well-kept historic homes. When it was put up for sale again in 2013, it was worth more than twice as much as it was before at $1.25 million to $295 million. This rise was caused by both larger trends in the Southern California real estate market and the lasting draw of old homes with solid architecture and interesting histories. The fact that Don Knotts owned this house gives it more Hollywood background. Knotts was known for being private and humble off-screen, so the home's peaceful setting and classic style probably helped him feel better. In contrast to the fast-paced and bright world of TV, his home in Glendale provided a sense of stability, making it the perfect place for one of America's most famous comedians to find refuge. Don Knotts, a famous and loved actor and comedian best known for his roles in The Andy Griffith Show, Three's Company, and many other memorable comedies, found peace and comfort in a charming Beverly Hills condo in the last few years of his life and work. This large, beautifully decorated home at 1854 South Beverly Glen Boulevard, Unit Number 402, became KN's private getaway from the limelight as his life came to an end. Twilight bought the condo in August 1983 for $338,170. It shows a time of change in Knotts' life. After decades of success in movies and TV shows, buying this house marked the start of a more stable period in his life. He could now live in peace while still being close to the entertainment business and its social circles. The building is in a nice, tree-lined part of Beverly Hills that is close to the center of Los Angeles but still private. The unit's 289 square feet is a very large one, especially for a condo. With 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, the house had plenty of room for guests, family visits, and the odd business meeting. The house has very high ceilings inside, which give it a feeling of openness and grandeur, and let lots of natural light into the rooms, making them feel warm and roomy. One of the best things about the condo is the lounge area on the roof, which is a peaceful and beautiful place to sit or think. Knotts would have had a great view of the city from this spot, including the Los Angeles skyline and the hills in the area. It's easy to picture the actor, who is known for his nervous, funny energy on screen, having some peace and quiet in Southern California, maybe sipping coffee in the morning or watching the city lights shine at night. There is nothing flashy about the building itself. It has a low-key beauty that fits someone like Knott's, who was famous but known to be modest, quiet, and private in his personal life. Residents who wanted a mix of comfort and convenience liked living there because it was safe and stylish, and it had all the services they could want. Knott spent the last few years of his life living in this house. During these years, he continued to act on occasion, doing voice work and guest parts well into the early 2000s. This condo was a peaceful escape from the busy life of Hollywood. When family and friends visited him during this time, they said the house was warm and cozy, and it was full of memorabilia that honored his long and important work. After Knotts died in February 2006, the house was kept by his family for a short time. In October 2007, about a year and 8 months after he died, the unit was put on the market and sold for $1. $23 million. This shows how desirable the site was and how much homes were worth in Beverly Hills at the time. The condo sale marked the end of an era, but it also showed how simple and humble Knotts' life stayed, even after decades of success in one of the world's most glamorous fields. The building at 154 South Beverly Glen Boulevard is still there today. And the unit that Don Knotts used to live in has a quiet history. There may not be a plaque or other public memorial to the famous person who lived there, but people who know about his life and work can understand how important this home is. Even though it wasn't his actual home, it was his final refuge. It was a place where one of America's most endearing comedians could live with honor, in a space that reflected his quiet charm. Morgantown, West Virginia is a small city in the middle of the Appalachians where Don Knotts was born and raised. He was born Jesse Donald Knotts on July 21, 1924, and grew up in poverty during the Great Depression. These early years shaped both his sense of humor and his strong, grounded personality. His childhood home was at 147 University Avenue. It was a big house that his mother ran as a Knotts boarding house. The family was having a hard time with money, and the boarding house gave them a small but necessary income. The house was close to West Virginia University, which would later be important to Knotts' early growth. Even though it was hard to grow up in a house with boarders and when money was tight, Knotts found ways to escape through performance and his mind. As a child, he was naturally funny and good at imitating other people, which made his family and the people who lived in their house laugh. Personally, Knott had some hard times as a child. He died when Don was only a teenager. His father, William Jesse Knotts, had a mental illness. Elsie, his mother, was a strong and calm figure in his life. She raised her kids through hard times. Morgantown wasn't a fun place to grow up, but it did shape me. The people he lived with, the surroundings, and the hard times he went through all helped give his later performances a quiet depth and sensitivity. Even though he had problems, Knotts did very well in school and was known for having a great sense of humor and a quick wit. He would do magic tricks and ventriloquism for his friends and coworkers all the time. This sparked an interest in performing that would last a lifetime. To serve in the U.S. Army during World War II, Knotts left Morgantown for a short time after high school. He put on a military comedy show for the troops to enjoy. He went back to his hometown after his service and started at West Virginia University, where he got a degree in teaching with a minor in speech. Over the course of his life, Knott stayed close to his Morgantown roots. Even though his work took him to New York and then Hollywood, he often talked about how much he loved growing up in West Virginia. It gave him a sense of stability and personality that stayed important to him even after he became famous. In honor of Don Knotts' many gifts to American entertainment and his strong ties to his hometown, the city of Morgantown has taken important steps to preserve his memory. One of the most famous tributes is Don Knotts Boulevard, a major road that was named after him. The new name of the road honors both his fame and a local boy who made it big. He took the humor, humility, and strength of his Appalachian background and turned them into something that touched millions of people. The life-size bronze figure of Don Knotts in Don Knotts Memorial Park, which is close to the Morgantown History Museum, may be even more moving. This statue, which was presented in 2016 by sculptor James Lester, shows Knotts in a classic pose as Barney Fife, the likable but clumsy deputy he played on The Andy Griffith Show. With his famous nervous, determined face, the statue immortalizes the role that earned him 5 Emmys and a place in television history. Fans and people from Morgantown can both pay their respects to one of the city's most beloved kids in the memorial park, which is a quiet place to think. Nearby, interpretive signs and memorial plaques talk about Kayan's life and work. They show how he went from having a simple childhood in West Virginia to becoming one of the most famous comedians in America. People in Morgantown know Don Knotts for more than just his name. He's a symbol of hard work, honesty, and ability from the area. His life story is an example to people who want to be actors or who dream of living in a small town. The city's efforts to honor and protect his legacy show not only pride in a citizen, but also a deep respect for the man who made them laugh. Don Knotts had a personal life that was very different from the nervous and awkward roles he played on TV and in movies. Millions of fans knew him as the jittery, bug-eyed Buddy, but people who knew Knotts better said he was a more complicated and often surprising person who had a quiet charm, a romantic streak, and an unexpected popularity with women. Al Cecco, a longtime friend and fellow actor, once gave an interesting glimpse into Knotts' personal life by saying, "Don was a bit of a ladies' man. He thought of himself as a bit of a Frank Sinatra." Women loved him, and he went on a lot of dates. This describes a man who, despite his simple looks and playful attitude, had a charisma that drew people to him, especially women. Knotts had a dry sense of humor, a kind heart, and an undeniable vulnerability that added to his appeal. In real life, he was much more confident and successful than his on-screen persona would lead you to believe. He was married 3 times, and each marriage was a new part of his life. His first marriage was to Catherine Metz, whom he married in 1947, when he was just starting out in his career. They had 2 children together, a son named Thomas Knotts and a daughter named Karen Knotts, who was born on April 2, 1954. Karen later followed in her father's footsteps into the entertainment business and became an actress, writer, and comedian in her own right. Knotts was married to Metz until 1964. By that time, his career had taken off after he did well on The Steve Allen Show and, more importantly, The Andy Griffith Show. According to reports, the stress of fame, long hours, and a demanding job led to the breakdown of the marriage. After they split up, Knotts took on the unusual and admirable task of raising his daughter Karen by himself. It was a duty he did not take lightly, and by all accounts, he was a loving and devoted father. Knotts married Laura Lee Chuckna in 1974, 10 years after his first marriage ended. Like many Hollywood relationships, theirs was hounded by the public eye and Knotts' personal growth. They were together for almost 10 years before getting divorced in 1983. Not much is known about the details of their marriage, but it was during this time in Knotts' life that he was juggling movie roles, TV appearances, and health problems that were starting to show. Knotts found lasting love in his third and final marriage to Frances Yarborough, a former actress and administrative assistant. They got married in 2002 and stayed together until Yarborough's death in 2006. Yarborough, who was much younger than Knott, was there for him when his health started to get worse. She was there for him during some of the hardest times in his life, giving him stability and company while he dealt with a number of health problems, such as macular degeneration, which made it hard for him to see, and hypochondria, a condition that made him worry about his health all the time. Even though he was successful, Don Knotts was never truly at ease in public. People who knew him well often said nice things about how quiet and shy he was. Betty Lynn, who played Barney Fife's sweetheart Thelma Lau on The Andy Griffith Show, once said of him, "He was a very quiet man, very sweet, nothing like Barney Fife." Other actors and actresses agreed, saying that he was warm and real underneath the nervous comedic roles he was famous for. TV writer Mark Evanier may have said it best when he said Knotts was the most loved person in show business. That love wasn't just professional, it was personal. Knotts's humility, kindness, and lack of ego made him not only fun to work with, but also someone who almost everyone he met will remember. Knotts and Ron Howard played young Opie Taylor together on The Andy Griffith Show. In February 2025, Howard revealed that he had recently learned that Knotts and Howard were distant cousins, which was a surprise because neither man knew about the family connection while Knotts was alive. Howard has always had a lot of respect for Knotts as a mentor and father figure to him when he was starting out in TV. He was amazed and happy about the discovery, which added to the serendipity of their already special relationship. Don Knotts died on February 24, 2006, at the age of 81. He died at Cedars-Sinai, a medical center in Los Angeles, where many Hollywood stars have spent their last days. The cause of death was complications from pneumonia, which was linked to lung cancer. In the months before he died, Knotts had been quietly getting treatment for his illness, dealing with his declining health with respect and privacy, which showed how private he was outside of work. Knotts was sick, but he was said to have had times when he felt better. His friends and family hoped he would get better, and he even went home from the hospital for a short time when he started to feel better. But his health quickly got worse again, and he had to go back to Cedars-Sinai, where he died. His death ended a unique life that had had a huge impact on American comedy and TV. When he died, Don Knotts was buried at Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery in Los Angeles. This is a peaceful and well-known cemetery where many famous people from movies and TV shows are buried. His grave was marked with a simple granite headstone, which showed how humble and quietly graceful he was in life. Many Hollywood stars are remembered with fancy tombs or monuments, but Knotts' first headstone was simple, almost understated for someone whose work had touched so many lives. But that modesty wouldn't last forever. Fans and admirers felt that Knott deserved a more fitting tribute because of how much he had meant to the entertainment industry. Early in 2011, the original granite headstone on his grave was replaced with a beautiful bronze plaque that was made with care and respect. The plaque shows Knotts in some of his most famous movie and TV roles, such as Barney Fife from The Andy Griffith Show, and beloved characters from movies like The Ghost and Mr. Chicken, The Incredible Mr. Limbit, and The Reluctant Astronaut. It's both a memorial to the man and a celebration of the joy he brought to millions of people through his shows. When Knott died, it led to a flood of tributes and thoughts from people in the entertainment business. Everyone who wrote obituaries for him called him a pioneering comedic force and said that his unique mix of nervous energy, slapstick timing, and emotional depth had influenced generations of actors and comedians. His impact was felt most in the world of television, where his 5-time Emmy-winning role as Barney Fife set a new standard for comedic supporting characters. Both critics and peers agreed that Knotts' style, which was based on vulnerability, precision, and an everyman charm, helped shape the modern sitcom as we know it. Even though Knotts' professional home and final resting place was in Los Angeles, his hometown of Morgantown, West Virginia, continued to remember and love him. While still a local, Knotts walked the streets of Morgantown, performed in local theaters, and dreamed big from humble beginnings. The town never forgot him, and in July 2016, they made sure the rest of the world wouldn't, either by putting up a statue of him in front of the Metropolitan Theater on High Street in Morgantown. The statue, which was made by the famous sculptor James Lester, is a warm and happy tribute to Knotts' life. It is made of bronze and shows Knott's in mid-expression, his trademark mix of comedic tension and sincerity. With one hand raised and an animated look of curiosity on his face, the figure reminds people of how much energy and humor he brought to every performance, a beautiful tribute to his work and a source of pride for the community that helped him grow as an artist. Fans, local officials, and members of Knott's family, including his daughter Karen Kayen, who spoke movingly about her father's life and legacy, all came to see the statue's unveiling. The statue and plaques honoring it have become a source of pride for the area and a pilgrimage site for fans from all over the country who still love Don Kayen's contributions to entertainment. Don Knotts' rise to fame as one of America's most beloved comic actors began modestly with early work on radio and stage, which set the stage for a career that would last for 50 years. As a child, Knotts honed his unique comedic voice in live shows and radio dramas, perfecting the jittery, anxious persona that would become his signature. His early work showed a natural knack for timing and a deep understanding of character-driven humor. It wasn't just one-liners or slapstick, but the kind of awkward vulnerability that made people laugh and relate at the same time. In the 1950s, Kayen made his debut on TV, which was the start of a meteoric rise in the entertainment business. His big break came on the popular variety show The Steve Allen Show, where his offbeat energy and wide-eyed expressions quickly made him stand out. His roles on the show often mirrored the nervous, high-string archetype he would later become famous for, which audiences loved. It was on that show that he became known to people across the country and caught the attention of critics and other actors. It was also where Naz's comedic voice really came together, with its uncontrollable tics, stuttering words, and genuine vulnerability. But it was his role as Deputy Barney Fife on The Andy Griffith Show from 1960 to 1968 that made Don Knotts famous on TV. As Barney, Andy Taylor's overzealous, trigger-happy, and often flustered deputy, Knotts created a character so vivid and hilariously flawed that it became an instant classic. Knotts gave Barney a good-hearted innocence that made his misadventures both funny and oddly endearing. His performance was a masterclass in physical comedy and character development, making even the smallest movements, like a raised eyebrow or a nervous twitch, funny gold. Knott won 5 Emmys for his work on The Andy Griffith Show as Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series, which shows how popular he was and how well he was praised by critics. His chemistry with Andy Griffith was a big part of the show's success. Griffith played the straight man with wisdom and warmth, while Knotts delivered comedic chaos with pinpoint accuracy. The show's writers reportedly built whole episodes around Knotts' unique skills, letting him fully explore Barney's bravado, and in 1965, Knotts, who was at the height of his fame, made the brave choice to leave the show to pursue a career in movies. He signed a multi-film deal with Universal Pictures and, over the next few years, starred in a string of family-friendly comedies that solidified his reputation as a master of physical humor and the lovable bumbler archetype. Knotts' most famous movie is still The Incredible Mr. Limpet 1964, in which he plays a shy man who turns into a talking fish and helps the U.S. Navy during World War II. The role combined live action and animation, which was new at the time, and it was a great fit for Knotts' gentle, slightly surreal brand of comedy. His underwater alter ego was honest, weird, and caring, just like Knotts in real life. After this, he starred in a number of great comedies. The Ghost and Mr. Chicken, released in 1966, is a scary comedy in which Knotts plays a nervous reporter investigating a haunted house. The Reluctant Astronaut, released in 1967, is a satire on the space race in which Knotts plays a janitor who is mistakenly chosen for a NASA mission. In 1968, Knotts made The Shakiest Gun in the West, a Western parody that showed off his physical comedy skills. In 1969, he made The Love God, a rather racy departure in which he plays a shy bird watcher who becomes famous in the adult magazine business. In 1971, he made How to Frame a Fig, a crazy political farce in which Knotts is at the center of a government plot. Each movie showed Knotts' talent for playing characters who are in over their heads, responding to ridiculous situations with exaggerated anxiety and a lovable sincerity. These movies cemented his place as a comedic lead and made sure that people of all ages would enjoy him. In the late 1970s, Knott made a triumphant return to television in the sitcom Three's Company, which ran from 1979 to 1984. He played Ralph Furley, the flamboyant and forward landlord of the show's three young roommates. Furley was a comic revelation, wearing bright Scott's leisure suits and a wide range of facial expressions. Many people who hadn't seen Knott's earlier work saw him in this role for the first time. His relationship with John Ritter was praised, with the two actors complementing each other in both physical humor and comedic timing. During the 1990s and early 2000s, Don Knotts continued to work in movies and on TV, showing that his appeal endured. He worked with Andy Griffith again in a few episodes of Matlock, playing strange characters that made longtime fans happy. In 1998, he played the mysterious TV repairman in the critically acclaimed movie Pleasantville, a small but important part that added depth to the movie's themes of change and nostalgia. In his later years, Knotts also started doing voice work. In 2005, he did the voice of the clumsy but good-hearted Mayor Turkey Lurkey in the animated Disney movie Chicken Little. It was a fitting farewell, and his trademark nervous energy made the cartoon world a great place for kids to enjoy him just like it had done decades before. He was the youngest of four sons in a working-class family with deep roots in American history. His parents, William Jesse Knotts and Elsie Lucetta Knotts née Moore, got married in Sprague's, Pennsylvania, and then moved to Morgantown. The family tree went back to the 17th century, when Knott's English paternal ancestors came to America and settled in Queen Anne's County, Maryland. Even though Don came from a rich family, his early years were hard emotionally and financially. His mother, Elsie, was 40 years old when she had him. He had three older brothers named Willis, William, and Ralph, who was affectionately known as Sid. Life in the Knotts household was hard and could be traumatic at times. William Jesse, Don's farmer father, had schizophrenia and a lot of problems with alcoholism. These problems often showed up in scary ways. He is said to have scared young Don with a knife, which gave the boy a deep sense of fear and a tendency to withdraw. These early emotional wounds would later shape the nervous, fidgety character Knotts perfected on screen, a funny reflection of a childhood marked by instability and anxiety. Don's father died of pneumonia when he was 13. It was a terrible loss, but it also marked a turning point. Don and his brothers were now only cared for by their strong and enterprising mother, Elsie. To make money for the family, Elsie ran a boarding house out of their home at 2147 University Avenue, which people in the area called the Knotts boarding home. Her strength, resourcefulness, and unconditional love helped the family get through years of hard times. Dawn stayed close to her for the rest of her life. The family went through more heartbreak in 1941 when Don's brother William died at the age of 31. Elsie lived until 1969 when she died at the age of 84. There is a family plot at Beverly Hills Memorial Park in Morgantown where she and her son William are buried together. The city of Morgantown will never forget the boy who would grow up to make America laugh. Don went to Morgantown High School and started to show signs of his acting talent. He was known for his quick wit and ability to imitate others, and he would put on comedy shows for his classmates. Even so, he was shy and had deep, seated insecurities that came from his unstable home life. These years were formative, though, as they helped him focus his energy on the stage and telling stories. After high school during World War II, Knotts joined the U.S. Army and served in the Special Services branch. His job, which was not on the front lines, was to entertain the troops. This gave him the chance to improve his comedic skills under pressure. Performing for soldiers, often in tense and difficult situations, gave him the confidence and timing that would later define his career. Knotts earned many medals and commendations during his service, but he rarely talked about them because he wanted his work to speak for itself. When the war was over, Knotts felt like he had a purpose in life. He decided to go to West Virginia University and major in education with a minor in speech. He graduated in 1948. His time at WVU changed him forever. He joined the fraternity Phi Sigma Kappa and was active in campus theater, radio, and other creative activities that helped his unique comedic voice grow. Professors and peers noticed how well he could combine physical comedy with emotional nuance, which was a rare skill that pointed to a successful career. Even though he was about to become famous and wealthy somewhere else, Morgantown was still very important to Don Knott. It was the town that shaped him, where he found his footing after tragedy, and where he found the voice that would later charm millions. Years later, the city would honor its most famous son with a boulevard named after him and a statue of him. These were fitting tributes to a man whose sense of humor and heart were shaped by the city's quiet streets and strong spirit. Don Cahan's story goes from a troubled childhood in a small Appalachian town to the heights of Hollywood stardom. It's a story of persistence, change, and the power of laughter. He had some very hard and important experiences as a child that helped him create unforgettable characters. These experiences are still an important part of the legacy of a true American original. What do you think about Don Knott? Let us know in the section below. If you liked it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.